Hey there, fifth graders, welcome back. We are now on to Module 2, Lesson 16 problem set. We are moving into division, and today we will be able to use divide by 10 patterns for whole number division. So let's get started. Make sure you have your materials with you, ready to record down the math in your problem set learn book. All right, let's get started with number one. Number one, they want us to divide. They say draw place value discs to show your thinking for A and C. So let's circle A and C because we're going to be showing the division using place value disc. And then it says you may draw discs on your personal whiteboard to solve the others if necessary. So we at least need to do A and C with place value discs. And they're not too hard. So let's start with A. We have 500 and we're going to divide by 10. So imagine we just have little discs or little like coins, and this is 100. Here's another 100, so we have 200. Then we have 300. Then we have 400, and we have 500. So we have 5 100 place value discs. So this is our first set. Please draw this in your area for the workspace for A. And now what we're going to be doing is taking each place value disk and we're going to divide them, each little disk, into 10. So let's start with the first one. Let's think, okay, 100 divided by 10 would give us 10. So we can make a little place value disk that represents 110. The other 100 right here divided by 10 would give us 10. The third 100 place value disk is 10, and you're seeing the pattern that 100 divided by 10 would give you 10. Now let's see, okay, if I had all of these 5, 10 place value disks, what value do I have? Well, I have 50. So the answer is 50 for 1A. Let's go ahead and do B, and actually let's do B with place value discs. I think they're beneficial to visually see what's going on. So we have 360. So how many hundreds do we have? Well, we have 300. So we're going to draw 3 100 place value discs. And then we have, how many tens do we have? We have 6 of them. So we're going to draw now 6 10 place value discs. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to divide each place value disk by 10. And so let's think 100, this first one right here, 100 divided by 10 would give us a 10 place value disk. The second 100 place value disk divided by 10 will give you another 10. And the third 100 place value disk divided by 10 would give you a 10 place value disk. Now we have the first 10 place value disk divided by 10. Hopefully you know that 10 divided by 10 is 1. So that means all the other 5 place value disks, the 10 place value disks, when you divide it by 10, will give you 1. All right, so now that we divided, what is the value of our new place value disk? Well, we have 3 tens, that's 30, and then we have 6 ones, so that's 36. So the value is 36. So let's quickly go back to A and say, what happened to our division problem and our answer? Can we see any patterns at all between 1A and 1B? Because 1A, we have the answer of 50, and 1B, we have the answer of 36. It looks like from 500, we took away 1 0 to get 50, and then 360, we took away 1 0 from 360 to get the answer 36. Well, why did we take away 1 0? We took away 1 0 is because we're dividing by 10. Since there's 1 0 and 10, we can cross-cancel, or we can cancel the 0 off in 10 and 1 0 off in 500. 360, we're dividing by 10, we can cross off 1, 0, and 10 and cross off 1, 0, and 360 to show us that the answer is 36. So moving down to C, I'm going to go ahead and change the directions a little bit. I know we were supposed to do the place value disc for C, but since we did A and B with place value disc, let's just go to C. Now C is 12,000 divided by 100. So go ahead and write it, copy it again for me, please. I know it's already up there, but I want you to copy it down. And I want to say, okay, if I'm dividing by 100, 12,000 is going to get smaller. It's going to move 2 times to the right on the place value chart to get smaller. Well, just like the pattern up here, in right here, if there's 2 zeros in 100, we're going to cross off the 2 zeros. And then that means we do the same thing in 12,000, and what's left over becomes our quotient, or the answer to a division problem, so 120. Let's do the next one, 450,000, write it down, divided by 100. It's going to get 100 times smaller. That means we're going to need to take away zeros. There's 2 zeros in 100. So that means we're going to take 2 zeros away from 450,000. And what's left over is 45 and 2 zeros, or 4,500. Down to E, we have 700,000. So let's write that to show our thinking, to show our work. And then we're going to divide it by 1,000. Since there's 3 zeros in 1,000, we're going to cross them off to make 700,000 smaller. We're going to cross off the 3 zeros. That means we're going to cross off the 3 zeros in 700,000, which leaves us with the quotient of 700. Now 530,000, we're going to divide that by 100. That means we have to cross off the 2 zeros. It's going to get 100. This number is going to get 100 times smaller, and so that means we're going to cross off the 2 zeros and 530,000. And what we get left over is 53 and 2 zeros, or 5,300. All right, so for number 2, they want us to divide, and notice with this division problem, our divisor, the number that we are dividing up into groups, is no longer like 10,000, 1,000. It's actually 30, 300, 3,000. Looking down, 70, 700, 70,000. So we have more of a value to our second number that we're dividing. So we're going to kind of break it up following this example right here. So if you think about it, we're going to take 12,000 and we're going to actually keep it the same, and we're going to break up 300 into 2 factors. Well, we're going to take the hundreds out of it, and we're going to say, let's first divide 12,000 by 100, and then once we get the answer, we'll divide it by 3. All right, so now looking at it, there's 2 zeros in 100, so I'm going to eliminate those 2 zeros, and then also eliminate the 2 zeros in 12,000, and so now I have 120 divided by 3. Next, I want you to circle 12 and 3, because we call these compatible numbers. 12 divided by 3 is a basic math fact, and we should know that 12 divided by 3 is 4. But this can't be our answer, since if we worked back and said, does 4 times 3 equal 120? Well, no, 4 times 3 is 12, so that means to make it equal 120, we need to put a 0 next to the 4 to have 40, because there's 1 0 in 120. Moving on to C, let's rewrite this. We have 12,000, and now we're going to divide it by 3,000. So we're going to take away or take out 1,000 and do that first, and then we'll divide it by 3 second. All right, 3 zeros and 1,000, crossing off those 3 zeros. That means we're going to cross off the 3 zeros in 12,000, and so we're left with 12 divided by 3, which is a basic math fact of 4. So the answer to 12,000 divided by 3,000 is 4. All right, moving on to D, we have 560,000. Let's write that down. And we're going to now divide it by 70, but so let's break up 70. Let's pull out a 10, and then we'll divide it by the 7. So you can see we're going to eliminate 1 0 and 10 and eliminate 1 0 and 560,000. So now we have 56, and then how many zeros? We have 3 zeros, so 56,000, and we are dividing it now by 7. Circle the basic math fact. 7 and 56. Those are basic math facts. 56 divided by 7 is going to be 8. And then you're going to go ahead and include the 3 zeros to make it 8,000. For E, let's go ahead and do 560,000. And we're going to divide it by 700. So let's pull out 100 first. And then after that, we'll go ahead and divide by 7. So we're going to cross off the 2 zeros in 100 and cross off the 2 zeros in 560,000. And so we are left with 5,600 divided by 7. Now 56 again, divided by 7 is the basic math fact. That will give us 8. We have 2 zeros to include next to 8 to make it the answer 800. Now some of you might be noticing that this step right here of breaking up 700 into 107 is probably something that we can skip, and you're absolutely right. We're going to skip that in F, and I'll show you how we do that. So we're going to take the problem again, and I know you see the problem up above, but I do want you to rewrite it down bigger so we can see it, especially when you're taking a picture and showing us online. Now, what I want you to do is first circle the basic math fact. Well, that's going to be 56 divided by 7, right? And we all know that's going to give us 8. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate these zeros in 7,000. There's 3 of them. We're going to cross them off. That means we're going to cross off the 3 zeros in 56,000. And so you can see there's 1 0 left. So the answer becomes 80. And so what we did is we kind of eliminated the step of breaking up the 7,000 to be 1,000 divided by 7 and kind of did some of our work in a different way. So G, 28,000, write that down for me. And we're going to divide it by 40. So we're going to circle the basic math fact. That's going to be 28 divided by 4. That's a basic math fact. That will give you 7. And we're going to cross off only 1 0 and 40. And we're only going to cross off 1 0 and 28,000. So what we get left over is 2 zeros to make it 700. H, we have 450,000. And we're going to divide it by 500. Find the basic math fact. That is going to be 45 and 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. And we have to cross off the 2 zeros in 500, cross off the 2 zeros in 450,000. And it looks like we add the last 2 zeros to the 9 to make it 900. And then I, we have 810,000. Write that down, and we're going to divide it by 9,000. You should see that 81 divided by 9 is a basic math fact. 81 divided by 9 is going to be 9. And then you're going to cross off your 3 zeros in 9,000, cross off the 3 zeros in 810,000, and you have 1 0 left to give you 90. So let's look at problem number 3, a word problem. The question says, the floor of a rectangular banquet hall. I want you to box in the word rectangular. That gives you a mathematical term that the room is rectangular shape. Has an area. So let's box in area. And the area is 3,600 meters squared. They tell you the length, box in the word length, is 90 meters. They want to know what is the width of the banquet hall. So quickly, we're going to draw what we think the banquet hall would look like. We are told it's rectangular. All right, so make a rectangular box. We're told the area. So the area is the space that the whole floor covers. So this is the area right here. We have 3,600 meters squared. Up on top right here is our length. So we're going to put, I always like to label L, and then it's going to be 90 meters, which means that this is the width, and we don't know what that width is. So if you remember anything from 4th grade about area, to find the area, you always take the length and you times it by the width, and that will give you the area. Well, we know that the length is 90. We don't know what the width is, but we do know the area is 3,600. And so what we can do is, here's a multiplication problem. To find part of the multiplication problem, we can do the opposite of multiplication. We can do division and divide 3,600 and divide it by 90. So very similar to what we did on the previous page. Where is that basic math fact? I'll tell you that 36 divided by 9 is a basic math fact. That will give you 4. And now you're going to eliminate 1, 0, and 90, and eliminate 1, 0, and 3,060. And you will get the answer of 40. So the width is going to be 40 meters. So let's write our sentence out to answer the question. So the question was, what is the width of the banquet hall? Here's our sentence. The width of the banquet hall is 40 meters. So make sure you have the word meters or the little m, and it is not meters with a little 2 exponent 2 on top, because that's talking about area. Whenever we talk about width or length, it's just the actual measurement with no little exponent. So make sure you have your sentence written down, and then we'll go down to B. So B says a square, let's box that, that's math related. Banquet hall has the same area as what the problem above that we just did. They want to know what the length of the room is. What is the length of the room? So let's quickly draw. What do we know about a square? Well, it's very similar to a rectangle, but we do know that all sides are equal. So to kind of draw your square that has similar lengths or equal lengths, best that you can do. We do know that the area, or the inside, is the same as the rectangular banquet hall up above. So let's think about this. If this side has to be the same length as this side, pretty much, and since a square has all equal sides, to find the area, you're taking one side, which is the same side, timesing it by the other side, and that's going to give you 3,600. Now, let's do some kind of, I guess, guess and check. Let's look at that basic number of 36. What number can you think of the same number can you multiply together that will give you 36? So it can't be two different numbers. It has to be the same number. Hopefully you know that, oh, I know that 6 times 6 is 36. And if 6 times 6 is 36, what times what is going to give you 3,600? Looks like 60 times 60 will give you 3,600. Let's double check. Let's say, hey, okay, I know 6 times 6 gives us 36. And since I'm multiplying 60 times 60, I have to add those 2 zeros. And yes, I do have 2 zeros in my answer. So the length, or the side, is going to be 60 meters. So let's write our sentence out. The question says, what is the length of the room? And our sentence will be, the length of the room is 60 meters. All right, so the last word problem, number 4. It says 2 fifth graders solved 400,000 divided by 800. Carter said the answer is 500, while Kim said the answer is 5,000. They want to know who is correct, and they want us to explain our thinking. So let's go ahead and set up the problem. 400,000, and we're going to divide by 800. Now, we're going to look for basic math facts, and here's what kids normally do. They'll say, oh, 4 and 8 are basic math facts because 4 divided by 8 is 2. And in their mind, they're actually thinking 8 divided by 4 is 2, which is correct. But this is saying 4 divided by 8 is 2, and that is, you can't do that. So the basic math fact is not 4, it's actually 40. So we're going to say, okay, 40 can be divided by 8. Because if you count by 8s, you can get to 40, and that's going to be 5 times. And then we're going to cross off the 2 zeros in 800 and the 2 zeros in 400,000. And let's do 40 divided by 8. That's going to give you 5. And how many zeros do we need to tack on? Now we're not going to count the 0 inside the circle because we've already done 40 divided by 8, and that turns out to 5. So all the numbers, all the zeros outside the circle, the 2 of them, we add behind to the 5. And if you actually worked backwards and you actually took Kim's answer, so I'm going to write Kim right here, and please write this down too. You're going to take Kim's answer, which is 5,000, and if you multiply that by 800, the question is, do you get 400,000? Well, I see a basic math fact. 5 times 8, that's 40. And since we're multiplying, we have to add these 3 zeros and these 2 zeros to the end of 40 and not count the 0 and 40 as one of the 5. So we have to have 5 more zeros, and I'll do them in red colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like you end up with 4 million, and 4 million does not, so actually we can say 4 million does not equal 400,000. So we can write that Carter is correct. And then all of our thinking right here is pretty clear enough to prove that Carter is correct compared to Kim. And let's do B down below. They want to know what is the problem, or what if the problem was 4 million divided by 8,000? What is the quotient, or what is, let's write the word answer to the division problem. So the quotient is the answer to a division problem. So let's go ahead and write 4 million. And we're going to divide it by 8,000. So the basic math fact is 8 and 40, not 4, 8 and 40. And then we're going to cross off 3 zeros in 8,000, cross off 3 zeros in 4 million. And so let's go ahead and do the basic math fact first. 40 divided by 8, well, that's going to be 5. And then how many zeros are outside the circle? There's only going to be 2. So the answer turns out to be 500. So 5th graders, that ends this lesson, lesson 16, the little intro into division. We're halfway through module 2, and we are going to be getting into doing long division the rest of this module. So I will see you on the next video.